So, hallo und herzlich willkommen bei triathlonszene.de. Heute mit einer Premiere, unser erstes englisches Interview mit Christian Blumenfeld from Nice, I think. Hey, and hello, welcome, Christian. Where are you right now?
Thank you so much. Right now I'm in Nice. We've been just outside of Nice for a few days now, but now we have traveled down to the race course. So it's real nice to be here and feel the atmosphere of the race.
Okay, what do you think about the race course so far? I've seen you riding it twice, I think, already.
We've been through like the main part 4 times, like the hill and the downhill, and it's tough, and it's definitely gonna make the race. Like you can lose so much time both upway and downhill. So we have tried to kind of go through as many times as possible, and also get the feeling of it.
Okay.
It's brutal.
And how do you manage? I mean, you have to practice the downhill as well as the uphill. Do you really go downhill fast and risk something now, like 2 days just before the race, or how do you handle this risk learning curve here?
Well, I've already seen a few guys been crashing in the course, so of course you want to stay safe, both in training and in the race. But I think the most important is to kind of recognize the corners and kind of have it in your mind, so it's easier on race day.
Okay.
So you kind of remember the corners.
Okay. So what impact does the downhill section of this course have to the race? I mean, usually it's the uphill is more selective, but here, do you really think there will be crashes or selection in the downhill? I've not ridden the course so far, so what's your opinion on that?
It's flatter than I thought. I was very worried before I came here because, first of all, I haven't been riding the TT bike at all before this race. So I built it up just before Lausanne, and Sunday after the race was like the first time I was riding the new Shiv.
Yeah.
I was really worried like just how it is to be handling the bike. Yeah. But so far it seems like it's I'm feeling comfortable on it. And also the downhill is not super steep, so you have to be pedaling as well. So I'm really wondering how it will go. It goes on the race day, because it's a huge advantage for the guys who has been riding TT bike the whole summer and kind of is probably quite skilled on it. Compared to me, who's just been on it for a week or so, and there's also a few guys who was not always just riding TT. But again, we're more used to racing the more technical ITU stuff. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to see how it goes.
So let's go back to this ITU stuff, as you mentioned it. I've made a notice because you posted this meme on your Strava account of these skeletons sitting in a park bench, saying waiting for Blumenfeld's first big win. So what do you think now, winning the grand final in Lausanne? Was this your first big win, or you're still waiting for it?
It was kind of the first big win. I got it after Tokyo race. A guy in Norway sent me the photo because I crashed out of the race, and I promised him that I would win the Tokyo test event. So then I was thinking about that meme when I was running in Lausanne.
Yeah, I thought it's pretty funny that you just posted it.
But hopefully I can take 2 in 1 with Lausanne, and that will be like a massive.
Okay, and just before the grand final win, what do you think was your biggest victory just before that? Would you say maybe the 70.3 record time, or Super League, or what?
I think the 70.3s in Bahrain haven't been with like the highest level. It's been off season, and maybe I felt really strong. Like the time was really good, but again, I didn't race against the guys I usually race against, and it's kind of during the summertime it really counts. And I think in Jersey 2 years ago, then I raced against all the best over the shorter format. That's probably not suiting me that well. So that's maybe my biggest win so far, except Lausanne.
Okay. this season so far was not as successful as we used to know it from you. So there are a couple of, let me just, usually this is live and the people can ask questions, but since we are having this just before our live show, I asked the people in our internet community about questions, and some loads of questions to your training principles, but I said it's not the right time today for all these training principle questions. But the one theory was that you were kind of simulating an Olympic season this year for next year, that you get used to this one peak training. Was this a plan of you and your coach for this season, and this the reason why you peaked so late?
Not really. I think the whole season was destroyed with the Dubai race and the travel there and the Tanipura race or training camp, because in Dubai, I don't know what happened there, but when I went off the flight, went out for Easter run, my legs were just cramping up really, really badly.
Yeah.
And the same day after, and the same during the race. So just after the swim and on my run to the transition, my legs were cramping up so badly that I just had to quit the race and being carried to the massage table and stay there for 2 hours. And I think that has been destroying the muscles in the legs more than we thought. And I think the impact of that had taken longer time to recover from than expected. So actually, just before Montreal was maybe the first time I really felt, okay, now I'm race ready again.
Okay.
And Hamburg I was in good shape in Hamburg as well, but then I crashed out. And then I got a really good training block that's supposed to be the same as we do next year, with 4 weeks in Formö and like a pre-camp with the Japanese team in Japan and then the Olympics. So that was working really, really well. And it was just a shame that I wasn't able to get up my potential in the race, because I think that would be really good.
Okay. You've done a lot of altitude training. What's your favorite place in Europe for that? You've been in Spain and in, kind of Spain. No, it's technically France. So what's your favorite place in Europe for altitude?
I find Sierra Nevada to be really, really nice.
Yeah.
It's like that's in Spain, just outside of Malaga, and it's almost on top of a mountain. It's like at 2,300 meters. You can there's only 2 ways to cycle. It's either up to 3,004 or you can go down to like 700 meters. So a normal training ride is like going down for 25 minutes and climbing for like another 1 hour and 45 minutes nonstop. And then we're back on the training center. And it's just so simple, you know what to do every day. And also there's like no traffic there at all. And it's really nice.
Yeah.
But sometimes we go there kind of just too late or just too early in terms of the winter. So it can be like snowy for the first or second half of the week or training camp. But it's really nice when it's warm.
Yeah, sounds amazing. I just have some more questions about these great ITU win. For me, when I watched the race, sometimes it looked like, and usually I think, oh, this is the new Norwegians athletes, they are racing together, training together. It's a big team, great to see that. But in the race, it looked sometimes as you were chasing each other. There was this one special moment, I think you already know what I'm talking about, where you went away with the Brownlee. And then I think, I don't know who was it, Gustav, was coming back, and Brownlee was like arguing with you, hey, what do you do? You're chasing your own teammate. What was this? Did you speak about that later?
Yeah, but he refused to admit that he didn't. He told me that he had a gap, but he didn't. But it was Casper.
Yeah.
But I think the problem there is that he wants to be a part of the breakaway, but he isn't that explosive enough to be able to break away. So he's just pulling us back. So that was kind of boring. And at the same time, when I were breakaway with him and with
some Spanish guy,
a Spanish guy and a Swiss guy, and then an Australian guy. And then but if you want to go in the breakaway, you really have to push like well above threshold.
Yeah.
And he just want to be on the steady state instead. So we kind of suddenly I ended up on my own instead of pulling the group away from the main pack. And that was kind of, But again, we were able to keep the pace quite rich throughout the whole 40K, and like he would try eating to keep the pace high over the top after the first hill many times, and that made it easier to kind of keep the pressure on. So he helped as well. But he shouldn't have pulled us back like that. I think he realized it afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a funny moment, because also in the video podcast you do not see how huge is the gap. Since it's not bike racing, you do not have a helicopter view all the time, so you just see the two guys and you do not see the size of the gap. But it was the first guy who was coming into the left side of the screen was a Norwegian guy, so I was kind of confused.
I think that was also why Johnny was pushing, because he realized it was Norwegian sitting in the front of the main pack and expected him to slow down.
Yeah.
And the same I did. So, but it happened. But we try to give each other some slack when we're racing.
Yeah.
Because it's easier to have like two guys in the race who's kind of giving you some extra space instead of pulling you down all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really nice to see that this kind of racing from bike racing is now somehow growing in triathlon. When the Spanish team was a lot of times together at the front and it looked like they had a tactic, it's great to see that. And same for you. Then next question to this race. When you started the run, I mean, I cannot remember a lot of times when someone ran away, get caught, like a bike race, and then sat back in the group and then attacked again. What did you think when they caught you the first time after these 3K? Did you thought, oh, okay, I'm gone?
It was more kind of me letting them catch me, because running alone 10K is really long, and also it's easier to stay in a group. So my idea was just take advantage of the great transition and get to the uphill with maybe a gap, because then I could just keep the same pressure up the hill instead of sprinting like everyone else, and then they probably would catch me on the top of the hill. But then after the hill, I was still having the gap, and then I just tried to run as light as possible until they caught me. And then I was running in Mario's back for almost a lap, but then I got like the feeling that they were struggling. Suddenly it was just me and Vincent left, and then in the downhill, the gap just opened up, and it was maybe a lap too early to do it, but it worked out. The plan was actually to do it on the third lap with just like 3K to go, because it's easier to just push for 2.5, 3K than 6K.
Yeah, that's true, and the last 3K will hurt anyway, so it doesn't matter. Okay. So I was really impressed by this getting caught and attack again in the run, and really impressive racing. Another story, and I think as the last about Lausanne, is that the commentary said that when you were young, you practiced transition 80 times in training because you wanted to be as good, the best guy in transition, and you had blisters in at your hand from training. Is that a true story, or?
Maybe not 80 times, but I try to practice like putting on the shoes and the helmet and being quick there, and like working with the shoes. Maybe I should step up the game there again, because now sometimes I lose a few seconds to the best.
Yeah.
To like Richard Murray, he's like flying through transition. So maybe I should step up the game there again.
Okay. I think I've checked transition times. You have not lost more than 1 second, I can tell you. So let's go back to the 70.3 world. So I'm wondering which priority does it have to you? I mean, you said you started Bahrain because it is in the end of the season and you can afford to spend some special training this time of the year. Now you're at your season peak, I would guess, and 1 week before, so there's no time for specific training. So what's your priority for this World Championship race?
It has been all about Tokyo and Lausanne, and then doing what I can after Lausanne to get prepared. So that's why we are trying to go through the course as many times as possible and kind of trying to build a strategy for around that. So I haven't done the same amount of race-specific trainings like the long rides or the race-based training that I maybe should have done. But again, I'm at the fittest as I've been for a very long time. So hopefully it should be fine. And also, it's a course that it makes it easier because of the uphill and downhill. You get like natural breaks. So it's not just 3.5 hours of steady racing. You can attack in uphill and recover downhill, and probably that will be easier at this time of the year than they were at the beginning of the season, because it's more natural to kind of push and be standing in. And also with the hill, you can be like standing on the bike instead of just being in air position.
Yeah.
So it's a good course that they can go that can benefit a lot of guys.
Yeah, I think the same. It's basically just 60 kilometers because 20 is just rolling downhill. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, almost.
Okay, we understand you, so I think the same. So, classic question here is, what do you think are your biggest rivals on that? I mean, you have run out Javier Gomez by, I think, 1.5 minutes last week. Yeah. So do you consider him as a big threat on the run course?
He's been really impressive over that EU season this year. I didn't expect him to be third overall, so you can never... he's always going to be a contender. But I guess Alistair is going to be the strongest one.
Yes.
He has been peaking for this race for a long time, and he has this as a main goal. So I guess he's going to be strong. Then Gustav is always going to be strong. But again, I'm not sure if he's going to lose too much time without racing on a TT bike, as he's racing on a road bike, or not. So,
so yeah, Gustav is racing on a road bike?
Yeah, with like long air bars.
Yeah,
not just the TU ones, but longer ones. So he's sitting in a good TT position, but I'm not sure if he will lose time versus me on the Shiv there. But he's definitely going to ride fast downhill.
Okay. And these are the two main contenders you see for the title.
Yeah.
And Javier Gomez. Okay, it's a really good selection.
Yeah.
we will have a video about this later on, and I will consider this because I had the task to consider 5 of them, and I have these 3 and you, so Javier Gomez I consider as well, and for sure we are always looking at the German contenders for this, and we have our hopes and dreams, as you can imagine. But interesting that you can strip it down to 3 in the end. So I was a bit concerned now for the World Championship when I heard about your blisters in Lausanne. You said they started like 3 kilometers in the run. Is that true?
Oh, blisters?
Yeah, blisters.
No, like maybe 4K left. So, but again, I'm gonna run with socks this time, so hopefully it's gonna be fine. But it's gonna hurt, but it's maybe not gonna get worse.
Okay, and you're gonna be running the same shoe?
Yeah, with like next percent is so much faster than everything else, so it's kind of worth it.
Yeah, it looks like everyone without contract is running these shoes right now.
Yeah, even with contracts.
Ah, yeah.
Then you, just don't post photos of it. So most of the guys is running with Nike now.
Okay.
So unfortunately, they don't sponsor triathletes.
For the race, we think that there will be a really hard selection in the bike race, so everyone will come alone to T2. What do you think? Who of your rivals is possible for you to outrun? And are there anyone you say, oh, I would really like to be, with 1 minute ahead of them starting the run?
No one really.
No one really. So you consider yourself as the fastest runner in these fields?
Yeah, I think we showed that in Bahrain last winter that we can, both me and Gustav can do like a 66-minute half marathon.
Okay.
And I would say I'm in general in a better running shape now than I were back then. but I'm maybe lacking a little bit of the volume of doing a 21K. But I will definitely get easier to the halfway point of the run at that pace. So, and also I think this course is maybe faster, the run course, than in Bahrain. So it's like harder surface and more flat. So I think it's going to be a really fast run.
Okay. How much of a gap would you give Alistair for the run?
Ideally, I don't like to give him a gap because it's always...
yeah, but you said you consider yourself as the fastest, so what kind of gap do you offer him?
Yeah, but you want to win with a gap, you know? You don't want to win with 10 seconds because you gave him 2-minute gap. So then you would rather win 2 minutes. So I will try to be in the front going into T2. And but again, that's difficult with the downhill. You never know if there's coming a guy behind who is a better descender than you, and suddenly he's gone up on the road because you're not able to keep down during the corners. So I will have to get pretty far down the road in terms of Gustav, because he's probably going to outride me in the descendings.
Okay, but again, give you a hint, I think Alistair is not on disc brakes. And this might...
He's not?
No, I think he's riding a Scott Plasma, as Kienle does, and they don't have a Scott Plasma disc, but you have.
Oh.
Huh?
Yeah, I think the brakes of the new Shiv is like... I wouldn't have gone on the old Shiv with the old brakes in this course.
Yeah.
So the disc brakes, that makes it a TT course for sure.
Okay.
Because it's almost, yeah, the brakes are really, really good.
Yeah, nice to hear. So I think we said 20 minutes. I think we are almost in the end of the interview. But as I told you, we did some kind of question crowdfunding from our community. And I'm not sure if I would ask that question, but a lot of people asked me that I have to ask you this, okay? Please forgive me. They all ask, how can you run by looking not that slim as other athletes? So have you ever tried to lose weight or something, or do you just run and are you happy with everything?
No, I'm always trying to lose weight. So, for example, this winter I was riding up and counting every calories I was eating. I got measuring through all the calories I was burning.
I did the same. It's not working.
Like, on the bike, you have like a power meter, and you can calculate it into calories, and the same with the running. So, but it's hard. Like I feel naturally like I'm probably a bit heavier than everyone else. So it's more about getting as fit as possible and just as lean as possible.
Okay, so. Everyone else, I asked the question, okay? Everyone must be happy with me now.
Yeah, I've been trying a lot to lose weight, but it's I guess I will never be a 70K guy. So it's more about finding that ideal body weight. Yeah. Because I'm also more muscular than everyone else, and it's hard to lose muscles because then you will also lose power.
Yeah. What's your weight currently?
It's like 70, 85.
Ah, okay. It's almost like you, Arne.
It goes from like 81 to 74.
Okay. Yeah, it's a hard business with losing weight. I would not go into it. Another question, there's a lot of discussions about your training philosophy at the Norwegians, but also we see you having a really strong training group. So my question is now to you, as maybe the final question, what do you consider the most important? Would you prefer the training group or your trainer and the training concept over each other? What do you think is I'm sure it's barely the same, but what do you really consider is the biggest advantage for you?
I would say the coach and like the training philosophy. Okay. Because even though, for example, when we are in Bergen during the winter, we might do maybe 80% of the hard training by ourselves on the trainer or treadmill. So even though we like supporting each other in training and traveling together and kind of being a good group and enjoying the traveling, I think the coach and the philosophy is like the key. But to be in a group that makes it easier to do the training.
Okay, interesting answer. Okay, I think that was it for now. We wish you all the best for the World Championship. Make, please, a really exciting race for us, yeah?
Thank you so much.
And yeah, thank you for being in the show. And maybe we can have a longer chat about philosophy training in Bergen in the winter. When you have more time. And das war's, Interview mit Christian Blumenfeld. Danke fürs Zuschauen und wir sehen uns nach der Dunkelpause.